Slave DiBiase.
Ooh, got my 9 meaneries in order. This the good water too. Shout out to our service engineers, our executive producers, the people that make sure that we have our water and our donuts, you know what I'm saying, infused, of course, and everybody making sure that our blunts are rolled. But shout out to those good folks. But without further ado, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on whenever you digest this content. This is another live episode of the Offenders Initiative podcast. All my stoneheads, all my offenders, man, who getting out there in the field with me, you know what I'm saying? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There we go. I just want to make sure y'all can see everything. There we go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because without that, that tells me y'all love what I'm doing, so that I can keep doing it, right? Okay. So y'all seeing the caption, man. It's another 420 sesh. Tell me in the comments right now what you smoking on. Me, I'm not playing no games. It's still white runts in the area. Velvet. Shout out to Mellow Fellow. That's really a sleeper. Like, niggas don't know about Mellow Fellow. That's really a sleeper. You know what I'm saying? Rocking some Steve Madden shades today. There's some old shades or whatever. I'm hearing Steve Madden's coming back, according to Viz, the animal who models his shoe after Steve Madden's. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Salute to all of that. But y'all seeing the caption? Power Book 44 Season 3 Episode 3. Tell me in the comments if you already caught it, and everybody knows that if you visited my channel, this is spoiler country, Jack. If you don't like what we finna talk about, what we finna get into, get your whole ass on. We going in. And again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's take a look at what we got today. Tell me what you're smoking on in the comments, man. Y'all know what it is, 420. This is by way of Movie Bot, y'all.
Well.
And let's take a look. We're going to go to this break by break, blow by blow pause, and we're going to get into this or whatever, because it was a lot of crazy shit that happened in this episode. We loving it. Let's take a look.
Welcome back to CBI.
You mean welcome back to CBI?
Now, last week we spoke about the theme of lies, loyalty, and leverage. How control was starting to become a bit of an illusion on Power Book 4 Force. This week we're talking about preparation versus vulnerability, not just in the streets, but also when it comes to Stacey Marks' political ambition. Everyone also seems to be playing their own games behind the scenes, lying, scheming, and positioning themselves. Family is also becoming a target, and I do think the Marquez cartel could retaliate in a way which may just bring Tommy Egan to his knees.
Let's go back to what he said.
Themselves. Family is also becoming a target, and I do think the Marquez cartel could retaliate in a way which may just bring.
All right, it says Gary Leonard says Tommy and Diamond are moving in a direction to ascension, meaning they're going up, but they'll be stumbling out the blocks. There'll be something that brings Tommy to his knees. Could it be the death of D-Mac? Since we know that for the last couple of episodes, Diamond and Jannard have been trying to set up D-Mac to finally get permanently put up out of here. I don't know. What y'all think?
Tommy Egan to his knees. And then there are also those players who are making some power plays in the background. For example, Miguel Garcia and Roberto Ortega's new alliance. So some of these characters do think they're 1 or 2 steps ahead. But in Chicago and where we are at this moment in time, especially in episode 3, every alliance does come with a knife behind the back. With that being said, that's the theme.
This whole, how y'all feeling about Tommy and Diamond even starting the alliance? You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that right quick. How do y'all even feel about Tommy and Diamond starting the alliance? Do they need them, or would it be easier to pull a ghost and just take everybody off the board and that be that? Find some people who want to fall in line. Because my thing is, if you're having a as they used to do, if you're having a meeting with all your premiers, with all your people under you, and there's somebody that don't want to fall in line, but they have a good infrastructure, they have a good organization. Cut that head of that snake off, put somebody else in his place who do want to fall in line, and then you keep things going on. Me personally, all these people that got a problem with the whole coalition, I think Tommy and Diamond should kill each one of them, put somebody in charge so that they can go at the Marquez cartel with full force and with full focus, because all this, half the coalition want to fight, the other half don't want to fight. It's going to messing them up all day long.
So let's get straight into the breakdown for Power Book 4 Force, Season 3, Episode 3. Now, towards the end of episode 2, Chavo and the DSDs were worried about getting into a war with the Mexican cartel. That's not what him and his crew signed up for, and they weren't afraid to let Tommy know either. It took Jannard to also step in and calm the situation down, but as we all know, the Marquez cartel would retaliate for what Tommy did to Mateo.
They caught these boys at the end of the episode, the same ones who had a problem with getting into it with the Marquez cartel were the first ones the Marquez cartel took off the board. They cut niggas in half out here. You heard?
And it was the DSDs who actually suffered. You can argue they should have been more prepared. They shouldn't have been sitting out in the open knowing there was a chance of retaliation from a Mexican cartel. Because in this game, you take your eye off for 1 second, it genuinely can be game over. You always have to be prepared. So this episode actually kicks off with Diamond finding Chavo's body under a white tarp in front of his barbershop, which, by the way, was only half of Chavo's body, along with his...
Only half of his body. The Mexican cartel is not playing. I was with Chavo and all of them last episode when niggas was like, yo, we not trying to go to war with them motherfuckers. This is the cartel y'all talking about. This ain't that alfalfa buckwheat type shit y'all be fucking with. This is some real hitters right shit from Mexico. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the clientele and a lot of the people that Tommy fuck with are true to heart Mexicans that got like family back home. So they don't want no problems for them, right?
Dog. It was a clear message from the Marquez cartel. They knew it was payback for Mateo, and they also knew the DSDs would also want to retaliate as well. Another problem that they had is that the DSDs were their biggest earners on the Northwest side. So now they also had to figure out a way to make up for that drop in revenue. Now
they're gonna have to hustle a little bit by themselves, because I don't think nobody from the DSDs is fucking with nothing after seeing they top guy, they leader get cut in half and left on a barbershop front step. Nasty. That's a crazy way to go out. And what killed me is, right? What killed me is, you go back to this part right here. Diamond is explaining to Tommy how he found Chavo cut in half on his front step. That's why I said the streets ain't shit, bro. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you got your man laying there on the front step of the barbershop, cut in half. Diamond tells Tommy what's going on. Tommy moves on like it's a regular motherfucking scheduled day. Like, oh, okay, you know, rest in peace, Chavo, but whatever, moving on. Yo, the streets don't love you niggas, man. You get cut in half, motherfuckers just move right on along with their life, like you never existed.
For that drop in revenue. Now, this is where Diamond also received a message from King Kilo. He said he wanted D-Mac dead, otherwise him and his crew would walk away from their coalition.
Okay, King Kilo, aka Big Baby Davis, who was actually locked up in real life, which is why this whole entire him playing this character is funny as hell. He texts Diamond and says D-Mac needs to be out, needs to be dead. Me and my crew are out. At first he was telling Jannard, look, I'm gonna kill Youngin when I get out. But now he changed his mind. He said he wants D-Mac, Tommy's nephew, off the streets before he gets out, or his crew are out of the coalition. And Diamond and Tommy can't afford to have King Kilo and his crew back off because they need all the soldiers that they can get right now because they're going up against a whole real life Mexican cartel. Not to mention, you still got Miguel on the other side of town pulling his little tricks and all of that, trying to be the man. Or continue being the man, I should say. What do y'all think about that? Is this a foul move that Diamond's playing right now by trying to take out D-Mac behind Tommy's back because he know he's not gonna be down with it? Like, I think that's some bitch ass shit for real, and it's gonna break them up. This is why I said I don't think nobody walks away from the Chicago cast except for Tommy. I think everybody's either gonna die and go to jail. I think Diamond is destined. It's just a little bit for a warning, for foreshadowing. The very first episode that you see him, I remind y'all again, the very first episode where we are introduced to Diamond, he's cutting old man's hair while he's locked up, and the old man basically says, "Carry your ass back for pain. And never see back off in here. I'm never coming back." Something. There's no happy endings in the Power universe, is what I'm trying to tell you.
That's the last thing that they didn't. So let's remember, back in episode 1, King Kilo did give Jannard just 1 week. More on that a bit later on. But because of the Marquez cartel, because the streets were heated to say the least, Tommy wanted to be extra careful, especially around Maria. Tommy's always been a character who's been very well prepared for war. As Becca once said back in Power Book 2 Ghost, if you have to stop and prepare, then you've already lost. It also reminded the time when he went to go see Ruiz back in season 1 of Power. He had a gun on his waist, one in his ankle, and he also forgot about the knife in the other.
Well, that's just being prepared all the way around. That's just Tommy all the way around. That's Tommy the Terminator. Don't ever forget that.
One in his ankle, and he also forgot about the knife in the other.
Oops, I must have forgot.
Who the fuck is you, Rambo?
Can I go see your boss now?
So you can never be too prepared. But he just wanted to take the proper precautions because you just never know when and where the Marquez cartel may hit. Just like they came for them in episode 2 with Maria. She is someone who's not exactly about this life as such, but she knows who she's dealing with, and she's also been in and around this life because of who her family are, the Garcias. And I do actually wonder if she'll ever need to use this gun. We saw her pointing it a bit later on in the episode, so let's see if she is actually forced into pulling the trigger. Now a bit later on, and she's also been in and around this life. Little Village is now a bit later on, the Garcias. And I do actually wonder if she'll ever need to use this gun.
Will we see Mireya use the gun? That's a great question for Movie Bot. I believe we will. Mireya might shoot her own brother, shoot and kill her own brother to protect Tommy. Would that not be a regular old twist of fate in the Power universe? You know, family don't mean shit in Power universe. Family don't mean nothing. And by the way, I'm hearing tell of they're already shooting Power Origins, and I've seen a couple of clips of young Ghost and older Kanan, same guy who plays Kanan now. They got him looking a little bit older. We don't see no Rock. Y'all remember what happened in the last episode of Raising Kanan? We don't see no Rock. I don't believe he shot her, but you know, all I'm saying is back to this, Mireya might end up killing her own brother. Power does not shy away from family members taking each other out. It happens.
We saw her pointing it a bit later on in the episode, so let's see if she's actually forced into pulling the trigger. Now a bit later on, she came to see Miguel even though Tommy gave her strict instructions. It's just work and back until things become a bit more calmer in the streets. But Little Village is probably the only other place that Maria would actually be safe. That's because despite who Miguel Garcia is, he would never let anything happen to his baby sister. For everything that he is and what...
I'm telling you right now, as these episodes go further and further, that little line between the two of them is going to get crossed. All this, he was just in this scene right here, telling her, please forgive me. I would never do nothing to hurt you. I was an asshole. Woo, forgive me. Mi corazón, you know. Again, there's no happy endings in the Power universe. I still don't see this going right. Worst case scenario, because this girl has a future in the medical field, she ends up dead.
He's done, family does mean a lot to him. He overreacted in episode 1 and also in season 2, episode 10, when he actually kidnapped Maria, which Maria did actually set him straight on. But he didn't want to lose his baby sister because that's all the family that he has left. They have also been teasing that blood is thicker than water. But with this particular relationship, I'm not too sure. I do actually think this one is on thin ice.
We not too sure. I'm telling you, That same gun that Tommy gave her, she might end up bodying her brother just to save Tommy. Miguel might get the drop on Tommy, and Mireya might put a bullet in her brother's head to save him. That would be crazy.
Very thin ice. And I'm going to come to that in just a moment. Now, we were also introduced to Cynthia, Miguel's love interest, who also bought him a gift, a pet pig named Bertha, which is definitely a first for power. But on Miguel and Maria's relationship, Tommy knows that he's just biding his time before he can make another move. We know Tommy will keep his promise not to hit Miguel Garcia, but we know Miguel won't. And Tommy's definitely right. Miguel said straight away in episode 1 to his right.
He said, we're going to do everything low key.
Tommy's definitely right. Miguel said straight away.
Miguel is still planning on hitting Tommy, even though Tommy is trying his best just to keep it business. I'm not going to kill you, but I will kill your pockets. That's the best way to kill your enemy, for real, for real. I ain't got to kill you. I just kill your pockets. But Miguel is trying to take it to that other level and undermine Chase. Seems like everybody's undermining the plug. This shit that Tommy did with the Marquez cartel, the fact that Miguel is trying to kill Tommy behind Chase back and all of that. I'm telling you, when the plug finds out what's going on, it's not going to be good for nobody. And a lot of somebody's going to have something to answer for. And that's if Che don't get killed himself.
In episode 1 to his right-hand man. They are going to make a move on Tommy Egan. He doesn't want Tommy dead, but they need to make sure that the hit doesn't come back to the Insane Princes. Now, for Mariah, at the end of the day, that is still her brother. She did say she has to try, but she did also say, if he does make one more false move, then he's out. And I do think Mariah is someone who can definitely take care of herself. She mentioned that growing up in the Garcia household, she definitely learned a trick or two.
It's always these girls that be around Tommy, and that is the thing right now, bro. Y'all tell me right now, every girl that's been around Tommy that he's taken seriously, what has happened to her? What has happened to her? And he's gone all around the motherfucking rainbow. He done had one from the Caucasus Mountains. He done had one from the lower Yoruba tribes of Africa with Lala Anthony. You know what I'm saying? He had the Viking Queen Holly, and now he got a little hot tamale here, Mireya. That was so racist. I need to stop. It just never ends well for girls around Tommy. You know what I'm saying? Never ends well. Hold on, my dog acting up. Hold up, y'all.
And Mariah sure does have a trick up her sleeve. Running it back to episode 1 and this conversation between Miguel and Mariah, she did threaten to tell Shay that Miguel was the one who killed his son to take over the Insane Princes. That's not information that they would have dropped in there for no reason. You then add it to the moves that Miguel's making behind Mariah's back and also potentially flipping over to working for the Marquez cartel instead of Shay. Things could definitely start to become a little ugly for Miguel a bit later on if Mariah finds out what he's up to. So she does definitely have an ace up her sleeve, which I do think will probably come back at some point later on in season 3. Definitely need to keep that in mind. Now, with the DSDs, we had Izzy coming to see Tommy and Diamond. They obviously wanted blood for payback for Chavo and the rest of their crew. They wanted revenge on the Marquez cartel, and they wanted to go straight for the head of the snake, Roberto Ortega, which is actually very difficult at this moment in time because he's still in solitary. The only thing they could do at this moment was pay their respects.
My thing is Ortega is getting more shit done behind bars than more people are doing rolling on the streets. But he's not safe because he's behind bars. You feel what I'm saying? You know, Tommy and them is famous for getting somebody hit in jail.
A bag of cash and tell him what he wanted to hear. At the same time, Tommy definitely was still thinking about taking out Roberto Ortega. But first up, they had to deal with the problem with the DSDs. They're down soldiers, and that means they ain't going to be able to move as much product. So they wanted to target the United Kings over at Brighton Park to make up for the shortfall. However, Pablo came.
Can we stop with the whole Mexicans that took over Chicago shit, man, and all the black crews work under Diamond? It's there's that many Mexican crews. And somebody tell me, if you're from Chicago, if you're from the Illinois area, is it that many Mexicans out in Chicago, man? Because the United Kings, they basically told Tommy and Diamond, fuck no, we not getting down with y'all. The Mexican cartel is carving motherfuckers in half. We'd be a fool to get down with y'all. But again, when you don't want to get down, you end up having to lay down. So.
Came over and said they had a roundtable meeting last night, and they all agreed that they weren't willing to play ball either. They didn't want to be in the middle of a cartel war because that's something that would affect their families back in Mexico. The decision was made and it was final. Done. There was nothing Tommy and Diamond could do or say to change his mind. One hit to their coalition, and that entire part of the Northwest Chicago was caving in. They also mentioned that Miguel Garcia now has the North and Southwest back under his control.
Yep, because all the Mexicans gonna stick together. That's why. There ain't nobody trying to get chopped in half, bruh. I don't know. Y'all think this is a move Ghost would have made? Like going head to head with a cartel? And the way that Tommy playing it is like, it's just a cartel. We be all right. We got people. Nigga, that's the cartel. They got people with people. They babies come out the womb cutting up drugs and toting AKs and Uzis. It's the cartel, bro.
Without lifting a finger. To make things worse, Big Smurf had rumbles that the DSDs were also thinking about leaving as well. And that's when he realized they had to make a move. And the next move was the Serbs. He rolled into the Lion's Den. And compared to what we went through before with Howie's someone who's always...
Now, I ain't gonna lie. I thought this was a stupid-ass move. With the entire history that Tommy has with the Serbs, to go back to them asking for help. Especially after Merc the Snitch, shout out to Mark Dark, that's what he called him. Merc a bitch just got down, got hit up and got killed the way that he did in jail. Tommy bringing his face, showing his face around it. That's bullshit, boy.
Is well prepared. The only thing he actually came in with was a bag of product, a peace offering, and kind of a peace deal. They had something in common because Roberto Ortega was the reason why Markovic was dead. And he was also messing with Tommy's organization and business. Now, this is where I do have a bit of a problem with plot armor because we know Tommy's been messing with the Serbs for a very long time. He also killed a lot of them dating back to Power and also season 1 of Force. He's also the reason why Markovic was in jail in the first place, even though there was betrayal from the Serbian side as well.
Yeah, it just reminded me, a few episodes ago, he killed some Serbs. He killed one of their top ladies in there and her men. Tommy is wild, bro. You just killed some of their people and you walking back in there. They should have bodied him.
But that all seems to have been forgiven. But as we're going to learn a bit later on, another theme that we're going to be touching on is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But we also know his power, and Tommy's plot armor will definitely come to an end at some point, maybe in Power Legacy or maybe in that Power movie. But moving on, Budimir, who was a Serb, mentioned that he knows how he could...
Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a Power movie coming out. So I'm not sure, are they going to do... Here's what I'm thinking is going to happen, since he just mentioned that. Raising Kanan is coming back. This season's going to end. More than likely, Tariq and Tommy are going to end up linking together and possibly going back to New York or going out to California together and running the entire country dealing drugs. And it's going to be some new big bad that they're going to have to tackle, which will lead into a Power movie. The only way, I'm telling you right now, 50, Courtney Kemp now, the only way y'all should be having the gumption to say we're going to shoot a Power movie is if Ghost is still alive and you're going to bring him back to life for the movie, and for there to be some reason for him to be back and bring back everybody, and we'll finally close the loop on everybody's story with a movie. After that, it should have happened. So I'm seeing all of this will probably happen no later than 2030, depending on how many seasons of Power Origins and Power Legacy they're going to have. Legacy is going to be the show that's the spinoff that's going to keep the current timeline going. Power Origins is going to be showing you how Young Ghost and Tommy came to be and how Breeze got killed and how Kanan got sent to jail and all of that. So it's depending on how many seasons of those that they got is when we'll see that movie. But Ghost got to be alive. Ghost alive, man. Hashtag Ghost alive.
Ortega. His uncle was right here in Chicago. So this is where we saw Tommy make his move. They made a move on Luis Ortega, who was Roberto's uncle.
Herb Scribe, yo, everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching, make sure y'all go like, comment, and subscribe to everybody that's in the chat right now. They are all content creators. Hashtag content creators unite. Let's get all these folks followed. That's Jamie Lanier. That's Herb Scribe. Go give them a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm good, Brody. Just sitting up here recapping this episode of Power Book 4 Force. Smoking on some white runts from Mellow Fellow, you know what I'm talking about? And we cooler, man. We very, very much cooler, man. How you been keeping up with the show?
And we saw a nice little throwback to OG Power again. In episode 2, they did have another, which was chopping off the head of Mateo and bringing it to the Coalition. just like Tommy and Ghost sent the body parts to the Primeras back in season 1. But this was another. It's something that he did when he threw Chuleta off the roof back in Power. He pulled his ski mask off because he wanted them to know exactly who did this. That's one of many things that have always remained consistent with his character. He wanted to deliver another clear message, and
sometimes being a tough guy can cost you in the end. Not every situation needs to have a face and a campaign to it. Sometimes folks need to know they got hit. They need to think you did it, but they can't tell for sure. Kind of like what he did to Miguel maybe an episode ago. And Miguel was like, I know you hit my warehouse and burnt it down or whatever. And Tommy was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I hope you got fire insurance, bitch. You know, that type vibes. Not everything needs a face to it. Sometimes that's why I can appreciate Ghost in that aspect, because Ghost really moved in the shadows. He really moved in the shadows. This loud, boisterous, tough guy shit Tommy pulling, it might come back to bite him in the ass, as in he ended up having somebody real close to him get clipped. Mind you, we haven't seen a lot of JP this season thus far, have we? Just saying. We haven't seen a lot of Tommy's brother this season.
he wanted Roberto Ortega to know exactly who was behind his uncle's death. But now that Tommy's gone after a member of Roberto Ortega's family, I really do worry for when the Marquez cartel hit back, because they definitely will. If Tommy's gone after Roberto Ortega's uncle, it does seem like family's fair game. And we know we're in for a funeral.
This nigga Tommy threw Roberto Ortega's uncle off a roof. Hold on. Right when they were right here, they had my man, they threw him right over the roof. Splat. He hits the ground. Buddy tells Tommy, because he's another Ortega that's related to the plug in jail. He tells him, you're going to pay for that. He's like, yo, I'm telling you right now, I don't just cut down family trees. I cut them all the way down to the ground. I burn everything. So like I said, you fucking with somebody's family, you're opening the door for them to fuck with yours. It's a little bit of foreshadowing right there, in my opinion.
Family's fair game. And we know we're in for a funeral at some point later on this season. So could JP be a death that's actually at the hands of Roberto Ortega and the Mexican cartel? Especially because he might just actually be released because of Detective Seng. The way this war is going between Tommy and Roberto Ortega, I just can't help but think Roberto Ortega will eventually make a move when he's released from prison that brings Tommy Egan to his knees. And
okay, this says Tommy and Diamond are moving in the direction to Ascension. Remember, that's what he said earlier. This is by one of the writers or producers of the show, Gary Lennon, says they're moving into a direction of Ascension. They're trying to go up, but they'll be stumbling out the blocks. There'll be something that brings Tommy to his knees. Nothing brings somebody to their knees in a drama, action drama, than a good old family death. That'll cripple a man down to crying. And with somebody with Tommy's past who's damn near lost everything, what's one more brother to lose? Will we see it?
we know something definitely will. Gary Lennon has teased something will be bringing Tommy to his knees, and I do think it could be just that. The Marquez cartel could potentially be taking out JP. Something else to also consider is Miguel Garcia. Maybe even he has a role. So, on Miguel, we know he brought in the best hitter on this side of Chicago, which I really did actually question in episode 2. I referenced the 4 horsemen that we saw in season 1. I said, ooh, the 4 horsemen, because they turned out to be a complete and utter joke.
Yo, why is it that every time these fucking hitmen from other countries get brought in, they always be ass? These niggas was so trash for them to have been such boogeyman. Like your man said, ooh, the 4 horsemen. First of all, they were some hitters from the Irish mob from the old country in Dublin named the 4 horsemen. You were expecting them to come back and wreck shit. Them motherfuckers got took out by Tommy and them. Tommy and them. Not even no real motherfuckers, just street Tommy from Queens. Come on, man.
For the 4 horsemen that we saw in season 1, I said, ooh, the 4 horsemen, because they turned out to be a complete and utter joke. And so did Mohit. Not many people have been able to get to Tommy in power, but I do think Gary Lennon is working up to it. But on Mohit, he was actually working for Ortega and paid off by them to not kill Tommy.
Yeah, they working towards it. Like I said, the fact that we haven't seen a lot of JP, the fact that D-Mac just keeps doing the dumbest shit every chance he gets in the street. There cannot be some sort of result to all of this for them to have all this stupid ass writing, because there's no way. This got to be fictional, because there's just no way that D-Mac is that stupid. I'm sorry.
And watching on was Miguel and his right-hand man. They then grabbed him, tortured him, fed his finger to his pet pig Bertha, and found out that it was Roberto Ortega that was in between. That was the cue.
Hold up, nah, Miguel's a vicious motherfucker. Miguel got there, kidnapped this dude, beat the shit out of him, cut off his finger and fed it to the pet pig that his girlfriend got him earlier in the episode. You know, pigs eat any and everything. They eat everything. See, that's why I don't eat pork. You know, you could chop up and put a whole dead body in a pen with some pigs and they will eat it all up down to the gristle. Just saying.
In between. That was the cue for Miguel Garcia to give Ortega a call. He couldn't understand why Ortega wanted to keep Tommy alive, especially after Tommy killed his uncle. The thing is, Roberto Ortega wanted Tommy to be his kill, which actually works quite well for Miguel Garcia. If he wanted to get rid of Tommy and keep his hands clean and make it look like he had nothing to do with it and keep his relationship with Maria, the Marquez cartel are the perfect guys to take him out.
Yeah, Miguel kind of playing chess. Like I said, some of the best villains are people that can send other people to do their shit and they don't have to get their hands dirty. You know what I'm saying? Even some of the best fictional villains in Marvel, you know what I'm saying? We love Marvel and DC over here on We the People TV. Apocalypse, he always sent Mr. Sinister to do his work. You know what I'm saying? Kang the Conqueror always sent several other people to do his work. Thanos was the same way, sent several other people to do his work. If he got to get up and do it himself, you are a pestilence in my life. He means he got to go handle it himself. Fine, I'll do it myself type shit.
All had the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I just raised it a second ago. And that's the exact situation we have here. Miguel said that he'll happily deliver Tommy to Ortega and also give him a foothold in Chicago. At the end of the day, he's a businessman. And if there's a better offer on the table, then he will be happy to walk away from Shay, who the Garcias have been in business with for a very long time.
Hold up. You heard what Buddy just said? Miguel went to Ortega and said, yo, I'll buy my shit from you. I'll serve Tommy up to you. I'll quit my business with Che and I'll buy my bricks from you if you handle this situation for me. So now you making moves behind the plug back. Everybody fucking up while Che on vacation, man. I can't wait to see the next episode when Che come back. And he'd be like, we at war with who? And you tried to kill who? I'm gonna skin both of you motherfuckers alive. Che, a serious motherfucker.
There's a long-standing relationship here between the Garcias and Shay. We learned that back in season 2. But he is ready to flip and help the Marquez cartel because of his beef with Tommy. So now it's getting...
But Miguel got to watch it. You got to remember, his sister still knows that he was the one who killed the plug's son in order for him to get into the position to be the leader of the Insane Princes. I believe she'll possibly pillow talk, tell Tommy that shit, and then that'll be his motherfucking draw for Uno out of that situation. That'll be Tommy's little way out of whatever trouble he's about to get into. Because some shit finna go down. That's gonna be a trump card for him. That's gonna be a Uno and Uno draw for Uno out for him. That's what that's gonna be. Tell him.
Really interesting. Miguel Garcia has created an alliance with Roberto Ortega. He's also ready to source his product from the Marquez cartel and also serve up Tommy Egan on a silver platter. But going back to the point of JP, I really do wonder if he ends up being caught in the crossfire between Tommy and Roberto Ortega. And if Miguel Garcia is involved in any shape or form. I do wonder if that's the last straw for Maria to let this secret spill, that Miguel kills Shay's son to take over the Insane Princes. They are starting to give us a bit more pieces to this puzzle, but just a bit of caution here. We know it's power, and we definitely know there's a twist coming soon. So let's just park this one for now, and we will come back to it as a twist coming soon. I do want cartel and also serve up Tommy Egan on a silver platter. But going back to the point of JP, I really do wonder if he ends up being caught in the crossfire between Tommy and Roberto Ortega. And if Miguel Garcia is involved in any shape or form. I do wonder if that's the last straw for Maria to let this secret spill, that Miguel kills Shay's son to take over the Insane Princes. They are starting to give us a bit more pieces to this puzzle, but just a bit of caution here. We know it's power, and we definitely know there's a twist coming soon. So let's just park this one for now. And
okay. JP gets taken off the board. Maria snaps and says, you done too much. You killed the plug, son. You killed Tommy's brother. You tried to kill Tommy. I was in the car with him. It could be some dumb shit like that where she end up almost getting killed being with Tommy, and then she might go and tell the plug herself. I don't know, man. I don't know. Would Mireya be that bold and betray her family and go and tell the plug herself what's going on? That's dangerous work right there.
We will come back to it as a topic this coming week. Now, with Vic Flynn, Tommy did warn him that he didn't want to hear any complaints, because the moment he has no use for him, he was done. The only thing he wants to know is information that he can use on Stacey Marks. So just as a reminder, towards the end of episode 2, this coming week, Vic Flynn, Tommy did warn...
Look at this bitch right here, man. He one of the yes man boys. Him, Gunna, all them. Yes, man. Man, I ain't no street nigga, man. I'm not no thug or nothing like that. But in the world that they come from, that is the worst thing you could be. That's like being a bad friend. Now, I do come from the real world, and I can tell you about having bad friends. That is the equal to having somebody there every day next to you when they really a hater. You a snitch, man. You try to get everybody taken down. And now everybody holding him. Vic getting hold by Tommy and Diamond. He they little bitch. And he fucking FBI. He Stacey Marks little bitch too. I'm telling you. Somewhere, somehow, he not making it out of here. I don't know who gonna take him out, but I don't know, man. You think his sister might take him out? It is power.
Him that he didn't want to hear any complaints, because the moment he has no use for him, he was done. The only thing he wants to know is information that he can use on Stacey Marks. So just as a reminder, towards the end of episode 2, Vic did have a conversation with Beth. She told him that if he had two people that had their foot on his neck, in this case Tommy on one side and Stacey Marks on the other, who's the easiest to beat, who's the weakest out of the two, and who's the most vulnerable? The answer was pretty simple: Stacey Marks.
I ain't gonna lie, when Tommy last episode, when Tommy told Vic, hey, I ain't in the old ladies, but I will go and kill that old bitch if you don't tell me what the fuck I want to know. I was crying laughing. I said, now you go kill the old lady. But hey, Tommy will kill the old lady. I'm telling you. He came up on the canyon. He will kill her. He will kill that old lady.
The answer was pretty simple: Stacey Marks. Her Rico isn't as strong as she thinks after Detective Seng made that mistake, on purpose by the way, something we definitely will come to in just a moment. She doesn't have full control over Vic Flynn as she thinks. She's coming under extreme pressure, and on top of that, a divorce with Bobby DeFranco was just exposed into the media. Back in episode 2, Donna from the DNC did actually ask,
yo, old girl pulled up on her after they exposed that she was getting divorced from the police dude that she married to. Old girl pulled up on her. She said, man, what the fuck was that? Like, I told your big Bruce Lee haircut having ass, is there anything in your closet that could fuck us over? And you said no. She told me the divorce didn't even fuck. Take accountability that you didn't tell that woman the information that she needed to know so that you could win this campaign. With your what the haircut having ass.
whether there was anything that she needed to know so they could get ahead of it before it comes back to haunt them. That was probably the moment to tell her about Bobby, but she didn't. Instead, Detective Seng leaked it to the media that she was going through a divorce, and it all led to an embarrassing moment in front of the cameras, which in turn is set to lose her some of her biggest donors, who are threatening to pull their support.
Y'all not gonna tell me that ain't the Bruce Lee haircut. I don't even know where I heard it. I know I heard it somewhere, but now I cannot see it. That is the Bruce Lee haircut. I'm sorry.
And that's because she also has a very bad history with the CPD. That was made clear back in season 2. Her relationship with Bobby DeFranco actually helped her case, but now that she's going through a divorce, it's a very big problem for Stacey Marks. Now, this is where Vic's plan comes in with the use of Ray. He introduced himself as Jason Booker.
Okay, so Vic and the girl Ray right here. Quiet as kept, they're actually married in real life, and to see them kicking it on screen or whatever is kind of fire. It's kind of like when Michael J. White has parts and he always finds a way to make his wife have his wife in the movie or make her be in the movie and be his love interest. That's kind of fire to me, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that he's playing this woman and he has another love interest so fast after everything that happened with the black chick in season 1, how she got killed and all that. He's trying to have another situation going so fast. I don't see this happening. I don't see this going down good for her. I see her catching him, giving some sort of or getting some sort of information from her, and then he ended up having to body her to cover his tracks. So I don't see it in the well for her either.
Vic's plan comes in with the use of Ray. He introduced himself as Jason Booker. He slept with Ray and tried to find out anything that he could on Stacy. He came across a couple of West End tickets, which he did use later on. He just happened to be there, knowing full well that Ray would be going as well. After another night with Ray, he found out Stacey Marks is in desperate need of backing. And this is how Tommy Egan could begin to get control over Stacey Marks. She needs money and lots of it. So why
if he gets a mayor under his thumb, Tommy I'm talking about, if he gets a mayor under his thumb, he'll be unstoppable. Do you think Stacey Marks is that weak that she'll start working with the criminal underground in order to make it to being mayor? Do you see that she will want or would do anything to get that sort of power? Show is called Power.
not make Tommy her biggest donor? Stacey Marks being backed by the person she was supposedly trying to catch. Imagine how that's going to look to someone like Donna from the DNC, and also those guys who have had her back. It's going to look like she's been working with Tommy this entire time, and probably conspired with them to put away Roberto Ortega, Markovich, and Claudia Flynn to actually help Tommy and the CBI. So Stacey Marks really is about to be in for the shock of her life when she...
Tommy about to get her right off the board. He gonna make it look like he working with her. She gonna look stupid.
he realizes who her biggest contributor is about to be. Now, on Vic Flynn, something that I do think will complicate things a bit later on is his relationship with Ray. It does seem like she's more open to seeing Vic, and I wouldn't be surprised if this relationship got to a point where Vic really started to grow some feelings for Ray. Eventually, he's going to have to do a lot of explaining why he introduced himself as Jason Booker and not Vic Flynn. He's definitely going to have to...
Nah, because earlier in the episode, he was kicking it with her, and she hit him with the, yo, you just a one-night stand. I really don't see nothing past this or whatever. So the fact that he knocked her off again in this episode, they might end up like really liking each other some sort of way, shape, or fashion. It just, like I said, there's no happy endings in this universe. You think Vic is going to find love again and then go off into the sunset with his snitch bitch ass? I think not.
Come clean at some point. So that's definitely something on the radar for later on in season 3. I do think he's going to catch feelings, and it definitely will make this relationship a bit more complex. Because then the question becomes, how long can he keep this facade up with someone who he's growing feelings for? So definitely something to keep in mind. Now, while we're on Stacey Marks, Roberto Ortega's lawyer did file a motion to suppress the drugs and cash. And that's because Detective Seng drafted the warrant with the wrong digit in the address.
That means Ortega's finna get out. The major shit that they got him for, they can't even pin it on him now.
He said he wrote down exactly what Stacey told him, and she signed it. But I always had a very close eye on Detective Seng dating back to season 2. I never took him someone who would be working for the Ortegas, but I always knew there was something shifty about Seng, because I did mention he was someone who always did challenge Stacey Marks in season 2. It was also said that he did have his connections in DC. I initially thought that he...
They did always used to get into it or whatever, but I just thought it was one of those, a man can't stand a woman being in charge of him, especially with the way that she talked to everybody in that office. But he had his own nefarious purposes. I get it.
Maybe after her job, or maybe he'd try and take advantage of Stacey Marks' position and maybe swoop in when the time was right. It did look as if he was trying to pull a Cooper Sacks kind of move with what he did to Angela back in season 1 of Power, but he actually works for the Ortegas, and that's another huge problem for Stacey Marks. Recently, we've been speaking about Joseph Sikora.
Niggas like Sandoval. Again, these agents that work with the criminals and all that, they don't last in this universe either. You still a cop, my boy. Cops don't last around here.
Mentioning that he's about to be pulled in a million different directions across season 3, but so is Stacey Marks, and Detective Seng is doing it right under her nose. So as I mentioned last week, the clock is definitely ticking, and the House of Cards are definitely about to tumble. But moving on to Claudia Flynn. Now on Claudia, I'm really glad that Gary Lennon got this right and let her rot.
All right, so Claudia, so that she doesn't get hit no more in jail, she went and told the Marquez cartel, yo, I'll work with y'all, just give me some protection in here. So this is why she got good buddy right here next to her. But we about to watch and see what's going to happen with that.
In jail for a decent amount of time. We all know she will be released at some point, especially if the warrant doesn't hold up. We know Stacey Marks' case is now becoming weaker, but having Claudia in jail for a good half of the season is how it should be done. In terms of her struggles, she came face to face with Lady Z, who did try and kill her back in season 2. Although that didn't put Claudia off from standing her ground. Maybe because she had the backing of the Marquez cartel behind her at that moment, although that was soon pulled after the conversation with.
So right here, she gets a phone call. The little guard back there hands her the phone. She's on the phone with the cartel. The cartel says, "We know you working with Shanti and Tommy or whatever with the little y'all doing your little thing with the clubs and cutting us out of it. Not a problem. You no longer have our backing." You see a good buddy back there is supposed to be watching her back. Another guard gonna come over here and push her out the way, like, yeah, you ain't watching her no more. It's over with for her. So now she has no protection in jail. The way she moves off of this, I fuck with Claudia's character strictly off of what she did right here. Here's one thing I do know in life. If you don't got no situation, rule number 1, make your own situation. Don't go try and get onto another nigga shit or nothing like that. You had a situation at first with some people. It didn't work out. Go make your own shit now.
Shen. The Ortegas found out she was working with Tommy by giving them the Viagra triangle, and that meant her protection in jail was done. However, the one person that she still does have in a corner that does have access to a lot of money is Elise. She does come from a very wealthy family, and she was able to put some bread into Claudia's account that allowed her to buy some protection, which actually worked out even better for Claudia. She may have lost the Marquez cartel's backing, but she was able to buy those girls standing behind Lady Z. And I have been saying, don't bet against Claudia Flynn.
Claudia went and handled that shit like a whole boss. Whispered in old girl ear, "This is how you get the motherfucking job done." I applaud Claudia for the way that she handled that. Took away my protection. I got money. I'm gonna buy my own protection. I got a way to get to some money. I'm gonna buy my own protection. Now I ain't gotta worry about nobody hitting me in jail, Marquez cartel or not. I'm good now.
She showed us exactly why she was the White Devil. But moving forward with Claudia, if she's not backed by the Marquez cartel when she is released, she won't have that much pull in the streets. Whether she can use Elise's resources to buy in with someone, that's always an option, but let's see what her next move is. She definitely will be a problem, that's for sure. But let's move over to the hot topic of episode 3, Diamond, Jannard, and also the move they put into motion with D-Mac attacking the 9/7s. Now, with Jannard and Diamond, they were preparing for war. Going back to the earlier point, they just simply had to remain ready. Their crews had to be strapped and ready at all times, otherwise they would have just ended up being sitting ducks like Chavo and the DSDs. Okay. It's also a reason why Diamond had to say no to Gianna, Leon's mum.
Okay, Leon's mom come back over there to my son. The little boy who got shot. She told us, I didn't, I had to get my head cleared, but I'm ready now. Go to rubbing on him. He know that the type of woman that she is, she'd be no good around him. So he tells her, "Hey, baby, I ain't the one you want. I live a certain type of lifestyle. I am that man that you think I am. You deserve to be loved. Oh my God." Yo, take no for an answer, man. There's something that I know. When most of the time in life, when doors get shut in front of your face, that's the universe saving you from some shit. Quit trying to force it. When you force some shit, then you get into some shit.
Leon's mum. Diamond knows that the world that he's playing in, especially after what happened to Leon, it really is unforgiving. Especially where they are at this moment in time, beefing with the Marquez cartel. It's something that Holly also warned Tommy in season 2. You can't have both. It just simply won't end well. And I do think Diamond knows that, and he definitely did the right thing. If he did get back with Gianna, it does increase the risk of her being caught in a crossfire, just like I mentioned how family could now be fair game, with JP now potentially being a target for the Marquez cartel. But in terms of D-Mac, they had to deal with that situation as soon as possible.
But I'll give it up to old girl. Hold on, I'll give it up to her because she slick also told him in that conversation that she knew that her baby father has not been home in like a minute. And he was like, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about." She was like, "Whether you have something to do with it or not, thank you." You know what I'm saying? Like, she know who he is. You know what I'm talking about? But yo, quit trying to reach for some shit that ain't to be reached for. That's how you sitting up somewhere having a bowl of spaghetti, having a couple of laughs over the movie you just seen. Somebody ride by the Italian restaurant, spray the motherfucker who should have got hit. They don't get hit, and you get hit. That's how shit happen like that.
Family could now be fair game, with JP now potentially being a target for the Marquez cartel. But in terms of DMAC, they had to deal with that situation as soon as possible, because they needed King Kilo and the RDs on board. The last thing they wanted at this moment in time was for them to leave the coalition and have a target on their backs from both the Marquez cartel and also the RDs. Now, the reason why Jannard was slightly holding back is because of Shanti's plan. Back in episode 1, she mentioned that she wanted to keep DMAC alive for another 2 or 3 weeks, make it look like Tommy and Diamond were the ones protecting.
Yo, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. The fact that how she keep hoeing this fool Jannard. See, and you could have seen this coming from a mile away. Jannard a whole crackhead. A recovering crackhead is somebody who can be manipulated. You know what I'm saying? So she's manipulating him to the point where they have hatched a whole plan for him to take out his brother and Tommy so that they can meet the plug and become CBI and take over all of Chicago. This is the plan that she has. Now, if I'm Jannard, somebody that is so vile that will come up with a plan for me to take out my brother, what will they do to me? It's always what you got to ask yourself.
Him and then set King Kilo loose, which in turn would pave the way for them to take over the CBI. That was Shanti's plan. And if Jannard really wanted to get rid of DMAC and keep the CBI's hand clean from the hit, then all he should have done is given the information to Diamond that DMAC hit the Chinese gambling spot with Marshall. He stole 20K's worth of product, give them DMAC's details, and just let the rest unfold. I'm not sure why Jannard didn't go with that idea, but...
Oh, don't worry. This ain't over with the Chinese, or it ain't over with them. Somebody, the fact that he even had the camera zoom in on his face like this, he coming back. That 20K and that brick of fetty that they had on the table, that ain't gonna just become unanswered and unresolved.
Diamond's idea was send him after the 9/7s. Now, based on DMAC and Marshall's reaction when Jannard told them who they wanted him to hit,
Marshall might be the smartest little YN on the show. They set up a plan. Jannard and Diamond set up a plan for DMAC to go hit some crazy motherfuckers in hopes that he would go and hit the wrong people, get killed in the crossfire, and he's got taken out anyway. No harm, no foul. Their hands are off of it, and then they can have all deniability when it comes to Tommy. When Jannard pulls up on DMAC and Marshall here and tells him the plan, Marshall, look at Marshall's face. Marshall immediately like, man, fuck no, we ain't going to go do that. Them niggas crazy. Tell that fool do that shit himself. I ain't going, you know what I'm saying? Ooh, this your man's telling you that this is the wrong move. Somebody who be with you every day. But DMAC's so interested in trying to be a street nigga for, I don't know why that street nigga shit so motherfucking lame to me. He in such a urge to be in the streets that he willing to take whatever bullshit somebody will throw his way, just a chance. So Jannard tell him, yo, you do this for us, you go hit them motherfuckers, you back in CBI. Even though y'all remember Tommy don't want him in CBI.
Their facial reaction just said it all. Marshall told him that it was a suicide mission. He was constantly shaking his head throughout in the background, warning DMAC, just say no. Nobody messes with the 9/7s because they're said to be crazy, and also because they do have cops in their back pocket.
We got
The
police.
problem with DMAC is he's been so hungry to get back into the CBI and impress. He doesn't care what the cost is or who he's targeting. He just wants to be down with the CBI. Now, Marshall may not have been down with the plan to hit the 9/7s, but he was always going to back his boy. He was always going to roll for DMAC, and that's exactly what he did. Marshall got together a crew, and at first, I did actually think Marshall...
A bunch of young dumb niggas. Now, if you take a look at the crew, right? Never judge a book by its cover. You take a look at the crew, right? They look like some squares, for real. Especially Buddy back here and him. But they get the job done. They get shit done.
He was always going to roll for DMAC, and that's exactly what he did. Marshall got together a crew, and at first, I did actually think Marshall may actually potentially have a chance of biting the dust. But
Yeah.
Marshall is a character who definitely still has a big role to play. But we've been talking about DMAC needing consequences, and it all did point towards Nutty. Now, one thing I am actually impressed with when it came to DMAC is he definitely is smarter than he looks. We definitely know he has a brain on him. He showed it back in season.
I ain't gonna lie. Right here, when DMAC was breaking down the plan of how they was finna hit the motherfuckers, he was handing out plays like a whole motherfucking coach, a whole fucking general. He was calling out plays. I said, young and good with numbers, and he can really, really call out plays like on some Woe Time shit. His talents can be used elsewhere, but he want to be dirty and dusty and be in the streets, man. Cut that shit off your head.
One, that's only when he decides to use it. He knew not to go with Jannard's plan of going after their stash house because that was heavily guarded. Instead, they planned to ambush the 9-7s thanks to some help from Bones' cousin, who gave them the location to one of their transfer locations. Again, the problem with D-Mac is, just like he said in this conversation with Marshall, he's always been about this life. He doesn't know any different.
JP, D-Mac chose this life, but he keep choosing it.
Tommy tried to get through to him, told him to go.
This is another situation of when Ghost was trying to tell Tariq, I don't care what I did. That don't mean I want this life for you. I know what this life comes with. You gotta think about it, man. We've been watching Power or whatever since the OG Power. Tell me there weren't scenes when the camera would just zoom in on niggas' faces and you could tell that they were just thinking about some of the shit that they may or may not have gotten in the night before, characters they had to drop off and all of that. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's a form of PTSD. These OGs don't want that for you. You stupid mop head, sideshow Bob looking motherfucker. They don't want that shit for you. But he keep wanting to be in the street. That shit's so lame, bro. That dude really a clown, bro. I don't even blame him. I blame his father, JP, for not being there for him. Yo, your son a whole clown, bro.
Go to school, dropped him off to Great Shores Youth Academy, told him to get a job and use his brain for the good. The problem is, all he knows is this, and all he keeps choosing is, again, this. And also the black market where he got this grenade from, which did actually come in use. After the ambush on the cops, which by the way...
Hold on. We're not just going to slide past the fact that D-Mac went and found a grenade. Them niggas had Call of Duty guns. My man D-Mac threw the grenade at the end so that they could get away. He could create some barriers between them and the enemy. My man hit the grenade out. My man hit the war zone on their ass. He's so smart and be on dumb shit.
Way resulted in more dead cops. That's going to be a big problem for them going forward. Law enforcement are going to...
They shot up some police getting up out of there too. You know that ain't going to go in there and shit.
Come down on the streets pretty hard. As if D-Mac hadn't caused enough problems for them already, because if you remember, he killed Seamus back in season 2, episode 4. Now they have 2 more dead cops on their hands. But the ambush was a semi-success. They robbed the 9-7s, but ended up in a gunfight, which resulted in the death of...
Nah, I give it to Marshall because Marshall was watching Buddy over there and he acted all fidgety and he went to draw. Marshall went ahead and got him up out of there. Hey, we didn't want to do that, but it happened.
Nutty. But that didn't faze D-Mac one bit. He was running off so much adrenaline around the robbery that they just pulled. He did acknowledge Nutty, but he is going to need to feel some real consequences.
So they man with the little stush bush, Nutty, he got dropped off in the gunfight that they had when they robbed the 9-7s. He grabbed some cash and told Goofy right here to take it to Nutty's family on some, you know what I'm saying, my condolences type shit. Because he did go out. They say he went out the right way. Ain't nothing cool about dying at 17, bro. Ain't shit cool about that. Ain't shit the right way about that. That shit's stupid.
Which I do think will come pretty soon. The 3 that will really hit him, which we spoke about in my breakdown for episode 2, is JP, Genesis, and Marshall. If and when any of those 3 are taken away from him because of his actions, that's when he's going to learn. Now, what then followed is about to cause a lot of tension at the top of the CBI. Jannard and Diamond were hoping that
Man, they can't kill Hold on, man. They can't kill Marshall, man. They can't kill Marshall, man. We not killing Marshall, bruh. Are we killing Marshall? How y'all gonna feel if we smoking on that Marshall pack? Like that boy Mark Dark be saying. I don't want to see it, but it's a cautionary tale. He could be kicking it with the girl Genesis. They chilling, they spray past where he at. He done already got caught in one drive-by. They hit Genesis and he alive. Same thing could happen. They could catch Marshall by himself, blick him down. Most likely scenario, though, it's probably going to be his father because that'll hurt him and Tommy.
Genesis and Marshall. If and when any of those 3 are taken away from him because of his actions, that's when he's going to learn. Now, what then followed is about to cause a lot of tension at the top of the CBI. Jannard and Diamond were hoping that D-Mac was one of the dead bodies, but when he strolled through, it looked like they just saw a ghost. They couldn't believe that D-Mac was still alive.
Man, when D-Mac came down there, they was like, oh, what's up, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? The niggas turned into Luther Vandross. I'm telling you. So their plan did not go down as planned. They expected D-Mac to be one of the bodies in the robbery, but D-Mac handled business. He lost somebody, but all in all, they did hit the score. How y'all think this is going to play out?
Because they sent him into an ambush. Jannard even gave them the heads up. And in that moment, they had no choice but to make it seem like they were happy with his work and then welcome him back to the CBI. But who strolled in just in that moment? His uncle, Tommy Egan. And this is about to cause a lot of mess at the top of the CBI. Tommy's going to have all sorts of questions for Jannard.
He definitely is, because you're going to have to tell him what he did in order to even get back in after I told you as his uncle, I don't want him nowhere near this shit. Someone might end up doing some wrong talking, and Tommy might pick up on the whole plan that they had to get him taken out in the first place. He might have to grip up his family, and he's going to realize it's everybody versus him. Tommy's going to realize that sooner or later, and that's where we're going to get that Tariq call, and Tariq's going to find his way to Chicago to help out his uncle.
And Diamond, he's probably about to give D-Mac the Tariq treatment, and it's about to cause a real tear at the top, at a time where they probably do need to stick together. But definitely now excited to see how this now unfolds for episode 4. With that being said, that's a wrap for the breakdown.
All right, that was Power Book 4 Season 3, Episode 3. All spoilers was all in there. Y'all tell me if y'all have already seen it. If you got Starz, you've already seen the episode. So all my people here, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me how you were liking the episode, man. This was another great session, man. I'm definitely fried, man. Salute to everybody that pulled up in the chat, man. It's been another one of those. It's your boy Slave DBIC. This is the Offender Initiative Podcast on We the People TV. Salute to Starz. Salute to Power Book 4 Force. And we out.